What's going on, nerds around the world? Welcome to episode 38 of the Nerds United as One podcast. I'm Christopher and Miller. I'm your host, for tonight. Of course, Caleb and Paul will not be joining us tonight. We're discussing the Lord of the Rings trilogy, as directed by Peter Jackson, based on the novels by J.R.R. Tolkien. And to discuss these films with me, I have a very good friend of mine. So it's his first time on the Nurse United One podcast. I have David Lozano. David, how's it going, my friend?
What's up, man? It's going good. How are you?
Oh, doing good. I'm just looking to discuss some Middle Earth with you. Ready to get things rolling up in here. All right. Okay, all right. So the Lord of the Rings trilogy, what has not been said about it, Of course, it's based on the books by J.R.R. Tolkien, and it revolves around the quest of the Hobbit Frodo Baggins, and he and the Fellowship of Bark on a quest to destroy the One Ring of Power, and ensure its destruction, before the Dark Lord Sauron, who's the maker of the One Ring, gets his clutches on it, And this was a very ambitious undertaking in film history. It was one of the biggest at the time. It had a budget of almost $300 million to make. And Lord of the Rings, this was not the first attempt of Lord of the Rings being adapted to the screen. Back in 1957, Tolkien had a film proposal for Jake Ackerman, Grady Zimmerman, and Al Brodax. They had like a proposal of mixed. They proposed like they did with animation, miniature work, live action. It was supposed to be like 3 hours in length. I think, and Tolkien was dissatisfied with the script they wrote. That project was turned down. And also when Tolkien sold his film rights to United Artists in '69, the Beatles planned to do a live action version of this trilogy. Paul McCartney was supposed to play Frodo Baggins. Ringo Starr was supposed to play Samwise Gamgee. George Harrison was to be Gandalf, and John Lennon was to be Gollum. And the film was supposed to be directed by Stanley Kubrick, but he briefly could. But he turned it down. He felt it was unfilmable due to the immense scale of the project, and Tolkien didn't really want the Beatles in it anyway. John Borman was slated to do an adaptation. Of course, he went on to do Excalibur, the Arthurian epic. Borman's script deviated in many ways from in certain parts in Tolkien's text. Gimli was put in a hole, beaten so he can retrieve password to enter Moria from ancestral memory. Aaron was made into a spiritual guide, something like that. It was simply the case of another filmmaker who failed to bring it to life. It was too intimidating a project to bring to the screen. There was an animated film in the late '70s that Ralph Bakshi did, and almost 20 years later comes Peter Jackson. He proposes to Miramax to do a film version of The Lord of the Rings. Initially, it was supposed to be 2 films, but somebody said, "Wait a minute, is this supposed to be 3 films?" That turned things around a bit, But Miramax's owner, Disney, felt uneasy with it. Jackson, was given the opportunity to take the project to someone else. '99, Moonlight Cinema took the opportunity, and these films were filmed simultaneously, as I said. It was an enormous challenge. I mean, of course, other movies have been shot back to back before. The first 2 Superman movies were shot simultaneously, and also the Back to the Future sequels did a similar thing, shooting films at the same time. But yeah, the first film came out on December 19th of 2001, and it went to and it was released to great acclaim and adoration from not only critics but fans of the source material as well. And this, this is, I feel, one of the best movies in movie history. It's an absolute landmark in movie history. The film is well cast. You got you got young guys, like you got young actors like Elijah Wood, Sean Astin to play the parts of the Hobbits. You got some seasoned actors like Viggo Mortensen and John Rhys Davies to play characters like Aragorn and Gimli. You got veteran actors, like Ian McKellen to play Gandalf, and Christopher Lee to play Sauron. This is a fantastic retelling of this story. Peter Jackson did an amazing job in visualizing Tolkien's world to the screen. This has got an awesome script. It's got impeccable direction. It's got incredible action sequences. It definitely, and the cinematography, so the production design, the visual effects, they did an amazing job, blending all those elements together, and the atmosphere of this movie was incredible. I feel this began the first start. This was the start of a trilogy that would be one of the great monuments in cinema history. David, tell us about Fellowship of the Ring. What do you think of it?
Well, my experience with Fellowship, I had a friend. I still have a friend. We're actually close friends. He worked at a movie theater in the next town over, and he was actually able to get me into screenings of newer films a couple days before, where the employees actually watched the films. And he asked me, "Hey, what do you think about Lord of the Rings?" I was like, "Well, it looks cool, but I haven't seen a swords and sandals type franchise get off the ground and actually entice me and keep my interest." So that night, I think it was 2 or 3 days before the 19th, we went and saw it. And of course, we knew the cast. We knew it was Elijah Wood, Sean Astin. And I wasn't a real big fan of Elijah Wood or Sean Astin at that point. But when they came on the screen, we just kind of looked at each other and we're kind of bracing for the worst. But there was really nothing to laugh at. We kind of assumed what a Hobbit was. My introduction to the whole universe was actually in high school, in keyboarding class, of all things. We had a free day. I think it was towards the end of the semester, and they were going to show us a video, and the video they had was The Hobbit, and I had never really heard of The Hobbit up until that point. I missed it in English class. For some reason, they didn't teach it down here in South Texas, or the class that I went to, or when I was supposed to get that. But there's a lot of singing involved, and I knew that that really didn't turn me on. So I was thinking, this is kind of childish and uninteresting, and the animation to me wasn't that great, so I just kind of ignored it. And when I graduated from high school and I went to college, I met someone at one of my jobs who actually told me that Lord of the Rings would be a great adaptation from book to screen. And I kind of started to ask some questions about it because I didn't know about it. And he started telling me the scope and the possibilities. So that was my mindset going into the movie. So when I saw Fellowship, I saw that prologue. That prologue was perfect. It was beautiful. It set the table for the whole trilogy, I think. And just to get you in the right mindset for the whole trilogy, it was perfect. I loved it. I love the introduction to Sauron. I love the introduction to Elrond in that first battle. And just to see it all kind of play out with the music, the cinematography by Andrew Lesnie, who just recently passed away. It was beautiful. And then the introduction to the Shire. You see Ian Holm for the first time as Bilbo. And then you see Gandalf. It was awesome. I didn't know really what I was watching at that point, but listening to the dialogue, getting just the feel, and I mean, it was match at the time. I didn't know it, but it was going to become one of my most favorite movies of all time. And it was just real powerful. I walking out of the theater, I didn't know what to think. I was wondering, what did I see? I didn't see it with a full audience, of course. I saw it with theater employees, but I kept on thinking about it on the drive home. I was thinking about it, and to me, it was something that wouldn't leave my consciousness. And I was asking myself, was that greatness? Was it just good? Was it okay? I had no one to talk to. I was driving home like at 2:30 in the morning because it's a 3-hour-long movie.
Oh yeah.
But I mean, to digest it, and then to get the DVDs, and then to get the extended editions, that was really powerful too. All those scenes that they left out made the movie more long than what it really was. Made it extremely long for some people, but it was just awesome. I mean, and the dedication that Peter Jackson, Fran Walsh, Philippa Boyens put into that film, along with the crew. You watch the appendices disc, which is awesome. It's 8 hours of special features. Just talk about the love and the dedication that they put towards these films. Richard Taylor and Weta. I mean, you can't really say enough. And to me, it feels like these films aren't celebrated enough. Fellowship is probably one of the best start-off movies for any franchise that's out there. It might be number one. The only other movie I can put up against it is maybe Episode 4, A New Hope. I mean, it was just tremendous.
Right, yeah, you got to really appreciate. Not enough credit has been given to Peter Jackson and the team he assembled to bring these films to the screen. You know, I mean, they had a long uphill battle, but but you really got to credit them for three films at once. You know, that was unheard of, almost unheard of at the time. You know. I mean, I think people considered it a folly because, nobody could ever attempt and ever, accomplish what he set out to do. That was mammoth. Jackson stuck to it. I mean, I think one of the great things he did, one of the great, I think maybe it's probably unsung, is his depiction of Middle Earth. He brilliantly visualized it. It almost feels like a character in the Lord of the Rings movie. In the Lord, each location is picked really well. I mean, it's just like the visualization. It's just like it's almost you can almost travel to that the whole world. It's just like that was fantastic. I mean, that's one of the great, hallmarks of that whole trilogy. Is how he visualized, Middle Earth, man.
Yeah, I mean, this trilogy alone made me want to physically go and visit New Zealand. Exactly. New Zealand is Middle Earth.
Exactly.
And it was just such a perfect storm of director, country, being away from the Hollywood system, not having that massive influence that it does on so many other franchises. I mean, it was really a perfect storm. Actors, it was. I can't imagine Sean Connery being Gandalf. Exactly. He was set to play Gandalf, and I can't even imagine. I can't even think of that.
He might have been slurring his way through the whole thing. Oh my lord! He would have been angry or slurs. Imagine him trying to say, "You shall not pass."
I don't even want to think about it, man. To me, that's so sacrilegious.
Oh Lord! And of course, the whole trilogy, the saga, the One Ring continued in the following year in 2002. And on the 18th of December 2002, the second installment of the Lord of the Rings trilogy, The Two Towers, was released. And this is a film, I feel much like Empire Strikes Back. It's very much like Empire Strikes Back in many ways. They intercut so many storylines. You have Frodo and Sam continuing their journey towards Mordor to destroy the Ring of Power. And, of course, they meet Gollum, played by Andy Serkis. And, yes, and Aragorn, Legolas, and Gimli are trying to journey to the Rohan and are be reunited with Gandalf, resurrected, and becoming Gandalf the White, and they're battling at Helm's Deep, And Merry Pippin escape capture, and they meet Treebeard, and they try to convince Treebeard and all the Ents, to attack Isengard, I mean, it might have been intimidating to a filmmaker, I'm not sure, to tackle so many storylines. I mean, it is one of narrative complexity, but Peter Jackson does it again, The cinematography is just stunning as always. The visual effects are always great. One of the great achievements of, this whole trilogy, is the creation of Gollum, Andy Serkis, he provided his voice and movements to that character, putting him in a motion capture suit, He was initially supposed to be a CGI character, but, Jackson was so impressed by it. Audition that Serkis did, it's like, why not use him? This is just the technical cheapness. It's the amount of this is hard, kind of it's the heartbreaking performance that Andy Serkis brings to this character, and he created a new kind of performance that had not been seen in movies before, and he virtually is a pioneer in motion capture. He of course went on to do King Kong. He was Caesar in Planet of the Apes. He's virtually pioneered this whole new field of this whole what we call motion capture. This is brilliant. And one of the great things about Two Towers is how it has an expanding line of characters. You introduce characters like Elwyn, who becomes a love interest for Aragorn. Of course, you have Theoden. I always love Theoden. Bernard Hill playing that character. You have the slimy Grima Worthington played by Brad Dourif. You have Carl Urban as Aramir. You have David Wenham as Faramir. He has some awesome, interesting new personalities in this new installment. And of course, one of the great battle sequences in movie history is seen in this. Is created in this film. The Helm's Deep sequence it's a tour de force, of action filmmaking. It's just like the scale of it, the sheer immensity of it. It just really, you're so drawn into the battle. And it's quite a breathtaking sequence, very much. I was just on the edge of my seat. It's very immense. And this is like I said, Peter Jackson does it again. He continues a level of quality that was present in the first film. It stands alongside Empire Strikes Back, Godfather Part 2, Aliens, Toy Story 2, and the Terminator 2 is one of the best sequels ever made. David, how do you feel about The Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers?
Well, when people ask me, what is your favorite film of all time? I say The Two Towers.
Really?
Yes. For many reasons, many factors. I mean, you come out with Fellowship, and you give us that, and then you follow it up with something more dynamic, and from a filmmaking standpoint, harder to achieve and execute. It just blew me away. To have a performance capture creature work on film, it had never really been done before. Yeah. People have tried, like with Jar Jar Binks. Oh, yeah. People despise him.
Oh, God.
With Gollum, it could have been very well the same. He could have been the next Jar Jar Binks, but he wasn't. Because it was Andy Serkis's performance capture. He believed in the character. Peter Jackson's directing and writing. I mean, they totally pulled that off. The movie would have fallen apart on itself if Gollum did not work.
Right.
He's basically the glue for that movie. Once you thought Gollum was real, the audience was had.
Yes. Absolutely.
And they continued on, of course, with the practical effects, the orcs, they wore suits. If you watch the appendices, they were dying of heat exhaustion.
Man.
They used real horses. They built Rohan on this smaller mountain that exists in New Zealand called Mount Sunday. And it's an actual physical place. They actually built Rohan and then totally tore it down after the movie filmed.
Wow.
I mean, it was incredible. I mean, they built it to Tolkien specifications.
Right.
And I mean, once you find out all the craftsmanship and all the work that they put into that movie, especially Rohan, I mean, all the detail, all the armor work, all the swords, I mean, it's incredible. And of course, you have Gandalf returning as Gandalf the White after going down to the Balrog, which they kind of revealed in the trailer. That first trailer, I had no idea he was coming back. When I saw him, I was like, hell yes. We get Gandalf back. We get to see the wizard at play. But with the Fellowship separated, I mean, you had Samwise, Frodo on their journey. Then you had Gandalf, Legolas, or actually Aragorn, Legolas, and Gimli off on their journey. And then you had Pippin and Merry on theirs, and you were just following the guy. I mean, it was awesome storytelling. And then to meet up, or actually the movie meets up, it comes to a head at Helm's Deep. And then they added that little wrinkle of the elves actually showing up at the end, which a lot of people kind of did not like. A lot of Tolkien purists didn't accept it, but I thought it was a great touch. I mean, you cannot adapt a book one-to-one from book to screen. I mean, you have to make some changes, some considerations, and I thought that was a perfect addition to that film.
Yeah,
it made a lot of sense to me, and I loved it. And that last speech at Helm's Deep that King Theoden gave, it was chilling. I mean, it was awesome. And then to Aragorn tell him that let's go out and meet them, and I mean, it was awesome. And then to see Gandalf show up with the Rohirrim at the end. And the camera pulls back, and you see that white speck on that black mountain take it on that massive army of orcs, and then the score swells. I was like, hell yes!
Yeah, that
was so awesome.
Yeah, that was like a perfect moment, you know, of direction and score. Howard Shore really worked magic with these three movies. You know, he created, scores that gave an added dimension to these movies. He is so wonderful in scale and so operatic, you know. I was blown away. It's like, I mean, you would expect somebody like Howard Shore to create music or something like this, but it's utterly breathtaking. It's incredible the work he did on these three films. You know?
It's John Williams-esque.
Yes, John Williams-esque. You know, speaking of Star Wars similarities, you know, we talk about, you know, Gollum and what an incredible achievement that is, you know, in parallels to, you know, how they created Yoda when they made Empire Strikes Back. You know the amount of effort that went into bringing that puppet to life. You know, that whole movie kind of depended on him. You know, the audience didn't buy that. You know, you didn't really have a movie. You know, same as you said with Gollum. You know,
right? Yeah, that's another parallel.
Right. And now we move on to the final installment of the Lord of the Rings trilogy, which is Lord of the Rings: The Return of the King. It was released on December 17th, 2003, and this concludes the Lord of the Rings trilogy. And of course, we have our heroes in the final state. Nearing the end of their quest. You know, Sauron is Garrett. He's in the final stages. He's trying to conquer Middle Earth. You know, and Gandalf, Aragorn, you know, Theoden, you know, Legolas, Gimli try to rally forces to help defend the capital of Gondor, Minas Tirith. And Aragorn, who's slated to be the king of Gondor, finally claims the throne. You know, of course, you know, of course, it all comes down to the hobbits, Frodo and Sam. You know, and they tried to destroy the One Ring. You know, of course, they had to deal with Gollum and all his treachery in the sea. You know? I mean, wow. looking all three films together, it's astonishing. It is truly, it is truly breathtaking what Peter Jackson and his team had accomplished. Telling a story is like telling a complete story, which I never done. This is really a picture of like extraordinary magnificence. Nothing like you rarely see movies like this come along in a while. It's quite emotional. It's a crowning achievement. It's just it perfectly blends action, character, spectacle, and storytelling in a very wonderful way, and it has so many great battle sequences. It has so many great moments. The character is a great conclusion to the trilogy. It's a great conclusion, in Lord of the Rings. I mean, you shouldn't doubt Lord of the Rings' place. It all comes to a head in this movie. You shouldn't really doubt this movie's place in movie history. It's just like what they were, the amount of balls is you have to admire Peter Jackson of that. I mean, there's so many great moments. Of course, with the with Aragorn and the Army of the Dead. Of course, one of the great standouts of this movie would be Samwise Gamgee, played by Sean Astin. He really comes into his own as this character. He really he's gradually changed in so many ways. I felt Sean Astin should have gotten a Best Supporting Actor nomination for that movie because he gives an incredible performance.
I can totally see that. I mean, I was kind of wondering if he was going to get a nomination.
But he really gave it a lot of effort in this movie, But they say, the whole's more than some of its parts, and that you can say the same about the Lord of the Rings trilogy, especially with the Return of the King. It was really the culmination of what Jackson originally undertook, when he went on to create this whole thing. It's one of the rare second sequels that actually works. I mean, it's really a crowning achievement in cinema history. It's just like this is cinematic brilliance right here. David, how do you feel about the Return of the King?
Yeah, I mean, it was the perfect bookend to the trilogy. I mean, Oscar will tell you that too.
Yes. Finally, Oscar recognizes a fantasy movie. God.
Yeah, which makes you wonder if Lord of the Rings came out first and then Star Wars came out, would Star Wars have won those awards? You kind of have to wonder about that. Yeah. But anyways, yeah, Return of the King. I mean, to go from Fellowship to the Two Towers and then make Return of the King, I mean, it was just perfection. There's really nothing I can nitpick. I mean, casting was great, score was great, cinematography was great. I mean, it was an awesome end to an awesome trilogy. Which, I mean, the hype for the movie was huge, and it felt like it did live up to the hype.
So very I couldn't say about the Star Wars. Maybe I couldn't say about the Star Wars prequels, but yeah, it really lived up to the expectation.
Yeah, and of course you had Gollum again. A little bit more improved.
Yes, a little bit more.
And you got to see Mount Doom taking the ring to Mount Doom.
Yeah.
And I was wondering for years how that was going to be, how the ring was actually going to make its way into the lava. Because, I mean, it was kind of a given. I mean, it was ubiquitous that the ring was going to expire. But the animation of it falling into the lava, then landing and staying on the top and then slowly going down.
Yes.
And then the Eagles, oh man, it was awesome to have the Battle of Pelennor Fields, and then they make their way to the Black Gate and have that battle with the Eagles, the Black Riders, dragons. It was a spectacle. I mean, to me, there's nothing to compare to it except for the original trilogy of Star Wars.
Right. The Holy Trinity, right there.
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much. It's just for me at least. It's just the original trilogy and Lord of the Rings, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah, you know, yeah. Come Oscar time, yeah, yeah. You know, yeah, yeah. Uh, 11 nominations were given to this movie, and it won all of them. Clean sweep.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, it was
Yep.
some people. It was given. Some people will call it a proxy, you know, award. You know, since they didn't honor the previous films for Best Picture, which I felt they should have. But yeah,
Right. It
but
was all makeup awards.
yeah, like awards. Yeah, but yeah. These films got great acclaim when they first came out. You know, not everybody was filming that. Let's throw with them. You know, I'm going to go back to read the books. You know. I mean, I didn't. I mean, with me, I didn't. You know, read Lord of the Rings. You know, the books. I started out pretty much as much as a lot of people seeing the films first, and then I got interested in the films later. I mean, excuse me, I got interested in the books later. I'm going to try to go back and read all of them. You know, but as I was saying, you know, with films like such as Lord of the Rings, you know, that are adapted, you know, from novels, you know, it could be it could be an arduous, you know, road adapting a movie, you know. I mean, adapting a book into a film, you know. I mean, and like with many other movies that are adapted from books, Lord of the Rings had to have, you know, some filmmakers had to take some liberties, you know, with the source material. You know, I mean, they had and which it irked it irked the ire of Tolkien purists. You know, I mean, there were several changes that they had to make to the movie to the novels. You know, I mean, some characters had to have some additions to them or change. You know, I mean, you know, but you know, such as the battles, as you mentioned, David, the battle in Helm's Deep. You know, the elves, you know, were originally in the battles of Helm's Deep in the novel, the two towers. You know, the character Tom Bombadil wasn't in who was in the Fellowship of the Ring didn't appear, you know, in the film, and also the character Sheila, the big spider, who was originally in the two towers, did not appear in the two towers. He appeared in the Fellowship of the Ring. You know, I mean, there had to be a lot of compromises in terms of trying to adapt the books to the screen, and Tolkien purists were not pleased with the changes Jackson made. You know, I mean, you can't please everybody. You know, you're going to have, when it comes to adapting a beloved book to a film, certain compromises are going to have to be made. I mean, you have to find a way to translate a story, you know, to a film, you know, in a way possible, so that people who hadn't, you know, read the source material, you know, you had to adapt it in the way which, you know, novices could get into. I mean, you know, it's just like, I mean, not everybody. I mean, I'm not trying to go against Tolkien purists, but not everything you love is gonna be translated verbatim. It's not gonna be slavish, you know, to the material like the first two Harry Potter films were. You know, I mean, you know, but like I said, I mean, it's like they're bound to be, you know, some omissions and some liberties with the source material, some changes of character. You know that happens. David, what do you feel about, you know, the Tolkien purists and their reaction to what liberties Jackson took with in making the Lord of the Rings movies?
I thought it was fine. All the changes, all the additions, all the line changes from characters from the book to the screen, the same lines that Tolkien wrote decades ago were still in the series, maybe not spoken by that particular character that was in the novel, but it was there. It was Tolkien's writing. I have no problem with that. The object, the goal when you make a film is to make a good film.
Yeah.
And it's just impossible to literally adapt every single word off the page. I mean, it's not going to work. The goal is to make a great movie, which they did, which I'm totally satisfied with. I'm glad it was done. It kind of reinvigorated me with watching films again, because I mean, like I said, all I had was Star Wars. It's like, why aren't more people making Star Wars movies, you know, or Star Wars type of films? And it just really wasn't happening. I'm a fan of other films, but there's just nothing like Star Wars and Lord of the Rings. Just the enormous depth, the history, just the time-consuming nature of these movies. And then for these movies to be 3+ hours long, I mean, that's great. I mean, the rewatch factor is through the roof, I think, for Lord of the Rings. It's a whole lot easier to watch those movies than to watch the original trilogy. For me personally, I can still rewatch the original trilogy, but I actually saw those movies so many times that I could probably recite the whole movie. But for Lord of the Rings, I mean, there's so many details, and once you know all the work they put into those movies, I mean, you just got to admire what they created.
Yeah,
what they created was awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. They created, cinematic magic with these movies. They certainly did. It's like Tolkien created a world of such, intricate depth. It's just a rich history to it. That no other film, I don't think any other storyteller may not even come close to what he did. But Peter Jackson, he did one hell of a job. You could probably make you could probably, if you wanted to do like a complete adaptation of the Lord of the Rings trilogy, that would take at least 20 hours in length.
Oh, it'd be longer.
Because originally Tolkien was supposed to be published as one novel. But I think it was something like a Paper Swords or stuff like that. But it was, much against Tolkien's wishes, it was going to be split into 3. But combining, the whole trilogy together, it's 1,000 pages long because you got like several pages of appendices. You got of course pages with in Elvish and stuff. Translating the Elvish in the languages. That Tolkien created, Elvish and all of that stuff. And so it was real to him as history. It was like you said, the works of Middle Earth are just like dazzling in itself, and just like the amount of dedication Tolkien had into into creating this whole thing. But like I said, Peter Jackson, what he did with the Lord of the Rings trilogy, he may not have made some changes along the way, in terms of bringing these films to the screen. But I say, it's pretty damn admirable, his translation of Tolkien's text to the screen. It's fucking awesome what he did.
Yeah, it's still today. I'm still waiting.
Wait.
Hopefully the new Star Wars trilogy can kind of live up, and they are using practical effects, and they're putting a pretty big emphasis on practical effects. So that's what Lord of the Rings did, and maybe that's something that JJ took away from the success of that trilogy.
This trilogy, they really put all, I don't know about putting all the stars, but it was such a mammoth, like I said, it was such a mammoth undertaking. It's incredible what they've accomplished, and now Jackson's in the history books, this trilogy will probably not soon, if ever, will find anything. I mean that's like equal to it. This is like these films are incredible to watch. All right, folks, that will do it for us. Thank you so much for joining us on this episode of Notion 91. We have discussed the Lord of the Rings trilogy. Be sure to check out. Next week's episode. We'll be discussing the Sam Raimi Spider-Man trilogy. Be sure to check out that show. I'd like to thank David Lozano for joining me on this episode. David, it was great having you talking Lord of the Rings with me on this. Man, it's great having you.
Yeah, thanks, Chris. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, you're right. Like you said, great for having. Yeah, great for joining me on this whole thing. Like I said, you can check and catch, our show Monday nights at 8. Like I said, be sure to check out, our Sam Raimi Spider-Man trilogy episode. Be sure to check out. All right. Thank you for so much, fellow nerds, for joining us on Nerds United. Until next time, we'll see you later.